Welcome to the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast, where we interview the best and the brightest business and real estate leaders. Our mission is to inspire and help 1,000 entrepreneurs to start and succeed in real estate and entrepreneurship. We will give you the exact playbook to succeed in your business through the experience of those who blaze the path. We're bringing the what's working today directly to you. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast. I've got a special guest today, a guy who's become a friend of mine. His name is Clark Lunt. He's one of the most experienced and best real estate investors that I know in the Florida market. What's really interesting about Clark is our paths have inadvertently crossed for a very long time. I actually first saw Clark's name on my buyer's list in the Panhandle of Florida because maybe a decade ago, I don't know, Clark, you're going to have to tell this in your story. Maybe a decade ago, you were investing heavily in the Panhandle, and our company, Blackjack, was wholesaling deals. You might have even bought some deals from us. And man, that seems like that was a forever ago, a completely different real estate market. But you've been crushing it, obviously, for a very long time, flipping houses. You probably wholesaled some houses. I know you're doing some hard money lending. I saw your post about all the businesses you have, attempted, built successfully, some that have failed. So I'm really excited to talk about some of that stuff with you today. Clark, man, welcome to the show.
Let's do it, Adam. It's good to have you on, or it's good to be on your show, man. I'm excited to talk about a lot of different types of topics, man. It's funny you mentioned that about the Panhandle because I got started in 2015, and one of I think it was the third or fourth wholesale I ever did. I sold it to Bill Allen in Mobile, Alabama. So it's funny how things come full circle, man.
Oh, that's so cool. So you sold that to us. We didn't sell to you. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, it's such a small world. I think one of the we'll go into your story in a second, but I think one of the things that I've realized over the years is no matter where you are in the country, the real estate investor space, at least for the professionals, not necessarily the amateurs, is really, really small. It's tiny. And this formulates my opinion that your reputation is so critical. How you do business, how you treat people, the value you provide to the space as a whole is really going to be the difference maker for so many and what kind of longevity they have in the space. Because it's the good dudes who've been around forever and many people come and go.
Nowadays, too, where everyone's doing things virtually. And so maybe you feel like you're almost shielded from it because you're doing a deal in Phoenix and you live in, say, Tampa, right? And you're like, well, that person won't remember me. I'll give you an example. I remember I was 2020, I was doing a wholesale deal and my dispo agent dispoed the deal, quote, I'll put quotes around that. And then we got it under contract and he didn't collect the EMD, right? Their earnest money deposit. When we sign it up, we make sure we get $3,000 or $5,000, whatever it was, right? So fast forward, we get to the table. I know this is going to come as a shock to you, but the buyer ghosted me, right? And we ended up not closing. Let's say we were supposed to close on a Wednesday. We ended up closing. We got bumped one day, right? So I had an ethical decision that I was faced with, Adam. And it was well, we're out of contract. I was ready to quote unquote close on Wednesday, yet it was Thursday when we were closing. And so I called the guy that had the property, and he was a wholesaler that sold it to me. I was like, hey man, we didn't close on Wednesday. We're technically out of contract. You really can't hold me. You can't hold my feet to the fire, right? And it was a sleazy thing to do because I knew, when you're buying wholesale deals, that closings get changed all the time, right? And I was like, look, man, and it was my fault. I didn't collect the EMD. It was my dispo guy. I should have paid more attention to it as the manager. Didn't do it, right? But I tried to weasel my way out of it. And I literally hung up the phone and I thought about it for 10 minutes. I'm like, dude, I am the biggest piece of shit right now. And I called him right back and I said, look, man, I don't know what got over me. Maybe I was stressed out or had anxiety. I was like, look, I screwed up. We didn't bring the EMD to the table, or we didn't bring the buyer to the table. Whatever EMD I put down with you, it's yours. I apologize for not coming through on the deal. And that was it, man. I was like, so when you said reputation, like that hit home is to like, if you do the right thing over and over again, your reputation will precede you, right? But if you're constantly trying to weasel out of stuff, if you're constantly trying to look at page 9 of the wholesale contract where it says this or that, like you're going to always be that sleaze bucket that no one wants to do business with. And that gets around fast, to your point about the small investment world.
Yeah, it definitely does. We've got I had a guy in the show. He's a mutual friend, Bennett Andrews, who you know. Love Bennett, by the way. He's great. He's such a good human. But my first interaction with Bennett, so Lindsay, the COO of our company, has a seller. It's like right after the hurricane last fall. And the seller's like a paraplegic, complete dumpster fire situation, just needs a lot of help. So it's like mid hurricane. So Lindsay's like, this guy can't DocuSign. I'm going to drive to his house, but he needs cash. So I'm going to give him cash. Like she took $1,000 with her, and she gives this guy cash, signs a contract, and this guy had been swindling other investors. We didn't know this at the time, but we submit the contract, the title comes back. There's an NOI on it. It's Bennett. I don't know Bennett at the time. We look him up. We engage him like, hey, we both have this contract. Let's like try to make a deal. Bennett stonewalls Lindsay. He's like, heck no, I'm buying this deal. He tries to bully her a little bit. Then like we come to our senses. Then we realize 2 other people have a contract on this house. So there's 4 of us now. We all get together and go, well, let's still try to do the deal if we can. I mean, that's fine. Like some is better than none. And turns out there was something on title that made it unclosable. The seller knew he'd swindled every single one of us for cash. This guy probably made 5, 6, 7 grand off of us. It was hilarious. And, so at that point, we're like, this guy's a jerk, this Bennett guy. Who is this guy? And then we meet him and we're like, oh, this guy's like the nicest guy ever. But, he's doing what he's got to do to get his deals done. So, it's such a small world, man.
I have a question. Is this a deal in St. Pete?
I think it was. Were you one of the other investors?
Because I brought in Bennett's partner, John. I didn't know if John and Bennett were together, but I ended up giving it to them because it was unclosable, and he said he could make it closable.
Yeah, that was the deal.
So now we've come full circle. It's not like we talked about this beforehand, and I know exactly who it is. I've been to that house 2 or 3 times, talked to the lady that didn't actually own it, and it was her boyfriend that died like 5 years ago or something.
It's such a small world, man. That's why you got to do right by people. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, you obviously have done, you're a deal guy. Like you're just doing deals in the residential space. You've done a lot of cool things. I'd also gotten connected with a linebacker, NFL linebacker, your buddy at one point, and you were like doing deals with that guy. And I like inadvertently like, oh, you work with Clark. Like, dude, smart move. Clark's a great investor. So it is really a genuinely small role. But like, when did you get started? Like, where did this go from? What were you doing before real estate, and how did you kind of get into it? And then what have you talk about some of those things along the years that got you to today?
I'll try and keep it, Adam, to kind of like an elevator pitch so that I don't banter on forever. But I got my degree at Oklahoma State with a broadcasting degree. So you see how well I use that. Ironically, though, I'm on a podcast, so it does kind of come full circle. I worked in outside sales for a home services company for like 10 years. Loved it, but you can only sell so many appointments a day. And I remember actually when I was in college, I lived in a house with like 7 or 8 guys. It was a complete shit show type college thing, just like you think it would be. And I remember talking to the landlord at the end of the year to get my deposit back, which of course we didn't get back. And I was just chatting with him. I was like, man, I started doing the numbers. Like this guy's getting like $2,000 or $2,500 a month. And I was like, how much did you pay for this house? And he was like, yeah, I paid like $80,000 for it like 15 years ago. And I just started doing the math in my head. I'm like, this guy is running an incredible cash machine. And it just got my wheels spinning. So I just started house hacking before house hacking was called that, and bought a house right out of school with FHA loan, and did that again 2 years later. And I'm just constantly putting roommates in. I didn't care. I was in my 20s. It didn't need to be like the coolest house. I had buddies that lived on when I lived in Pensacola. They lived on Pensacola Beach. So I just kind of quasi slept on their couch on the weekends, and then went back to the real world Monday through Friday. And I just did that. And I just kept buying houses one at a time every 2 years.
How did you go from Oklahoma State to Pensacola?
Well, if you can go spend 5 years in Oklahoma, you would quickly understand why you'd want to leave. So that was an easy decision. So I ended up there my senior year of high school, and it was in-state college. So it was just cheaper to go to school there. But I left the next day. I graduated on a Saturday, and on Sunday, I put whatever small amount of belongings I had a U-Haul and went to Florida. No job. I didn't care because I wanted to be in Florida where it's beautiful, and Oklahoma is not beautiful. No offense to anyone in Oklahoma, but really nice people, not so great state. So with that being said, man, I just started buying houses. Everyone's always talking about like, well, what's the cap rate, Adam? And like, what should I buy? And like, do I refinance? Like, I bought a house, I saved up some money, I painted the walls, and then I put 20% down on the next house. And guess what I did then? I painted the walls, I put in a new dishwasher, I put more roommates in, saved up some money, and did it again, right? It's not rocket science. Like I hear all the time where everyone wants to play like jujitsu, like they have 1,000 units and they're looking at the IRR of their first rental property. And I'm like, dude, just go buy a property and like, does the rent, is it more than the mortgage, right? Is it not a complete dumpster fire? Is it not in a D-class area? Buy it. Like, stop trying to like play jujitsu with this thing. So did that for a while, man. Worked at outside sales, love sales. I'll be a salesman my whole life. And then in 2015, kind of burned my boats, went all in on real estate. And then I've been in real estate for the last 10 years and wholesaling, fix and flipping, buying, holding. Done some private lending, some hard money lending. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Some developing.
Yeah, I think you're extremely experienced in the real estate space. So you've kind of seen it all. And I think, when people get into the industry, there's so much information today, especially today. It's like, it's almost frustrating talking to new investors. It's like, guys, block the noise out and do the thing, right? It's like, it's not as complicated as people make it out to be. And we're in a tough market right now, but by and large, the real estate market as an investor is pretty forgiving if you just execute on the basic fundamentals.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm with you on that, man. But it's to your point, and I'm no different. I chase shiny red balls when I shouldn't. But the more that you can stay focused on one thing, we were at the same meeting the other night, right? And you talk to someone and I'm like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I do Airbnbs, and I've got a couple of rent by the rooms and pad splits. And then I wholesale a little bit, and I'm like, you do nothing like you just do a bunch of stuff that you dilute yourself. Good for you that you're at least taking action, but you're so spread thin that you're never going to do anything well. And it'd be much better if you just said, I buy wholesales in this market, and they need to be, built past 1970, and they're not in a flood zone, and they're this and that. If I hear that, I'm like, oh, this guy or this girl knows what they're doing. They're going to be very successful.
Yeah, they're dialed in. They're focused. I was literally talking to somebody yesterday, and she's flipped a couple houses, and she's talking about multifamily. She's talking about being in this group and in that group. I'm like, what's your goal? Do you want to achieve that goal? Yes. Okay. In order to achieve that goal, you have to block out all this noise. And then I kind of went on a rant because, I've been through the 5 stages of grief recently just to come into the acceptance that I'm considered a guru. All right. I'm the CEO of 7-Figure Flipping. We're coaching and mentorship program, Masterminds. So it's like, I'm a guru. Okay, fine. Well, what comes with that is, seeing the Wizard of Oz, being behind the scenes, knowing all the other gurus. And in order for them to acquire clients, to get people to join their community or whatever they need to do to help them and impact their lives, they have to do marketing. And because there's so much marketing out there, and the way you have to market, like, hey, gator crocodile lending, or like you make these like really ambiguous, curious things for people to go, what is that? And then they join your thing, and it's all a bunch of noise. The truth is all of these quote unquote gurus or real estate investors who have had some level of success, usually, they're really all doing the same thing, and it's all fundamental. Like the way you market to sellers, if you're going direct to seller, none of us are doing anything that's really that different. The way you talk to sellers, we're all talking fairly similarly. Some people are more skilled than others. The way you buy a house and flip it, it's the same every time. You do demo, then you do drywall skimming or new drywall, then you do paint, or then you do flooring, then you do paint, then you do flooring, then you do baseboards, then you do cabinetry. Like the job layers are the same every single time. So like nobody's really doing anything different, but you feel like, oh, I see that group and they're better. They've got some magic pill, or this group that's not true. Get focused, block out the noise. And I know you've seen it over the years. And the other thing is these people come and go. Like these gurus come and go, the investors come and go, and you look around, you go, who's been here with me and before me? It's like the same people.
Yeah, I think it's difficult too, to your point, because it's so in your face now, and it's hard to understand who's real and who's fake, right? And I can understand, especially coming newer into this industry, you're like, where the hell do I even like start, right? And I think that it was interesting. So at the meeting that we were both at the other day, one of the questions they asked the panelists, they said, what would you do if you're starting all over and you had 10 grand, right? And like, if you're trying to get into wholesaling, which is kind of like the common entry point for most real estate investors, not getting your real estate license doesn't for anyone listening, a lot of people think they have to go get their license. I'm like, you can if you want, but it's not going to help you do any investing. That's a side note. But they said, what would you do with 10 grand, right? So if you're a wholesaler, I think that the low hanging fruit is, well, I'll take some money and I'll put it towards, texting and pulling lists and getting on PropStream or batch lead services. And then, then I'm going to do some mailers and things like that. And to me, it was so obvious, just like sitting in the crowd, is to like, if I had $10,000, right? Well, I've already done a lot of marketing, but the question was, if you're just getting started, right? Well, I have a lot of knowledge in terms of like where to pull lists and where to kind of do the marketing channel. But if I didn't have that knowledge, right? And you're listening to this right now, the number one thing I would do with that $10,000 is literally go find groups, masterminds, people that have blazed that trail before you. And it's so difficult, right? Because there's not a guaranteed return. I know that if I spend $5,000 on mailers, right, I can ask the mail company of a 2% response rate, how many calls, right? I can feel it. It feels good, But the problem is that, are you mailing to the right people? Like, are you mailing enough? Are you sending the right type of mailer, right? And it's like, I'm passionate about now, as I've learned over the years, is like, who, not how, right? Like, who can I go find that has done all this? They've bought the t-shirt, they've made the mistakes, that I can surround myself with to bring value to them, right? So it's not about me, right? It's about how can I bring value to someone else, especially early on when you have a lot of time and energy, you don't have a lot of money and you don't have a lot of knowledge. To be able to surround yourself with those types of people, but you have to buy yourself into those rooms. You're not going to just go down to the Panera Bread and just like have amazing people around you that have been in real estate or they've been buying businesses. So that, like, if you're listening to this and you're trying to get into real estate, right? I know you don't want to hear this because you don't get instant gratification, but putting yourself in rooms like your mastermind, Adam, would be a great example of like getting around people and just being a sponge and raising your hand and saying, how can I would ask you, Adam, what pain points are you having in your business? Like, I'm just curious. You're not Superman, right? You're a human. You have problems in your business like anyone else. Just curious, what's going on with those problems? And then you think in your head, wait, do I have a skill set that say, Adam, can I help, man? Like, I want to learn, but is there value I can bring to you? And that to me is where the 10 grand should be spent, 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, that's such good advice. It's interesting too, because like people approach me like I'm considering joining a mastermind. They go approaching me, and I'm the CEO of a mastermind. Like, I'm incentivized to say, yes, join mine. It's the best in the world. But what I actually tell them is, because I know all the others who have masterminds, and frankly, those masterminds are fine too. So what I tell them is, I go, the information is all available. So it's not, the information isn't the difference maker, in my opinion. Go look at the people leading those masterminds. Have they done or are they doing what you want to do? Yes or no? That's question number one. Like, can they prove unequivocally? Like, if you want to see my P&L, we are crushing in real estate today.
Good for you, man. You're the only guy I see out there actually doing that.
Like, it's real talk, right? So it's like, hey, I do this for real. Now, some people have kind of grown out of it, and I'm not hating on them. That's totally fine. The next thing I tell them to do is go look at the people inside of that mastermind. Are those people your people? Are those people aligned with you, your core values, your belief system, and doing the things that you want to do successfully? That, to me, that's the real difference maker, is validating that there's alignment. Like, the people in our mastermind typically are more mature. They're older. They oftentimes have kids, and they're serious investors. They're not like social media gurus. Like, there's like, we have some people in our mastermind that have been in multiple masterminds. Like, this is the least egos I've ever seen in a mastermind room. It's just like who we attract, who we are. Like, and I think between Bill and me and the people in our community, it's just a lot of like boring business operators. Really, we're not that exciting. So like, if that's you, then yeah, come to 7-figure flipping. If you're younger and you're like, out on the nightlife is important to you, like, we probably aren't your people. Go to somewhere that has that crew. That's cool too. Like, but the information is all, like we kind of were talking about, the information is all kind of fundamental. It's about the nuance of it and how to implement it and do that thing. And plenty of people have done that successfully. So yeah, man, I do agree. And what's interesting is, in society, dude, we've normalized going and getting a mountain of debt to pay for college, right? And I did my undergrad, my graduate, I did all that. I used literally none of it. I was fortunate that all my college was free because I was in the military. So I had no debt from that. But like, I just looked up the stats. On average, people go to college and leave college with at least, the average is $40,000 of debt to get a job making on average $68,000 a year.
Okay, got it. That's
right.
Yeah.
So they're investing in a college degree anywhere from $20,000 to $200,000.
Right.
And then they look at, oh, well, that mastermind is 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. Like, I could never spend 30 grand on self-education. It's like, you just spent $100,000 on a college degree in psychology in undergrad that you're going to make $0 from.
Mindset shift. But I think that all the mastermind does is it helps to expedite your journey. It helps you to maybe pass on some of the mistakes that you inevitably would have made, and then being able to just surround yourself like that. That's just, I feel like everything I do right now it's not like, how do I do anything? Like, how do I build this company? It's like, who can I find that I can surround myself with that's already done it, and they can just give me 20 minutes of their time. And I'm like, here's my plan. Here's what I want to do. Shoot holes all in it so that I can take that advice and expedite that. But it takes time, and it's not instant gratification. And that's the challenge, right? Everyone wants to have like the cool house, and like, everyone wants to, like, the minute they get equity in a property, like, all right, how do I refinance that out so I can like go put it on the next thing? I'm like, well, you're going to find out in 3 years when that roof goes bad, and now you're pulling 15 grand out of your own pocket for that rental, that maybe you shouldn't have squeezed out every dime of equity in that property and actually kept your mortgage payment at like a manageable amount. And so that's the challenge right now, is being able to not take that drug, right? That hit, like, every time. Like, sometimes just let it chill. Like, just let those properties that you have, like, you don't have to play checkers with them. Don't take that hit where you're going to start your business day one and then just go light the world on fire and spend 20 grand a month in marketing, right? Like, that's the easy way to do it, is to just write a check for it. I'll tell you a lesson I learned. I remember it was back in like 2017 or 18, right? I was spending 10 grand a month in marketing. Okay. And I was on mailers, PPC, SEO, the whole thing. Right. And I remember I was like, well, if I'm getting like three deals a month on 10 grand, well, Adam, if I spend 20, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get 60. I'm going to get 60. It's that easy, right? You just write a bigger check. And guess what happened, Adam?
Same result.
I got $20,000 worth of leads. Okay. But guess what happens is that then I started cherry picking more and like, oh, that lead's not that great. I'll get to it later. And and also too is that I didn't necessarily have the infrastructure to handle double the leads overnight. And so I was overwhelmed with my staff, and I started to pick and choose the leads that I chose the leads that I liked the best, and the ones where they were like, well, I want way too much for your house. You and I both know that people, I mean, we've all bought houses where they've said they wanted $400,000 for their house and you bought it for like $150, right? But when you hear that on the phone and you got 9 more leads coming behind it, you're like, look, Miss Jones can wait, right? And so that was a hard lesson to learn. And I probably threw $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 down the drain, that if I would have known someone to talk to, they've been like, should I double my advertising budget overnight? They probably would have told me no and saved me a lot of money.
I'm a slow learner, Clark. I was a Marine, not the smartest guy. I think this was like January of either, I can't remember if it was 23 or even going into 24 last year. I was spending 40 grand a month on marketing. And I'm like, dude, I need to increase my deal flow. I literally doubled it to 80. And I got the exact same result. And it is 100% for the reasons you said. You cannot scale your marketing up without the appropriate infrastructure to care for those leads the way you care for the little bit. Like, totally valid. And I talk about this all the time. Like, everybody's like, scale. I want to scale. I said, yeah, but like, you have to understand scale happens over time and scales multiple layers. It's not just like lead generation. It's also infrastructure and people and team and systems and process. So like when you scale responsibly, you're doing it with one piece at a time and you're incrementally going up to validate you're not breaking the system. So I'm with you 100%. I've actually done that multiple times and it has literally never worked.
I mean, it's just all part of the learning process. And I mean, but it's fun, man. We get to sit here and talk about it. And you know what? I'll probably do it again and in some other different way. So, I'm a slow learner myself, man. So you're not alone in that battle.
All right. So I'm curious. So you've been doing this for a while. You've got tons of great experiences. You obviously, did the wholesaling bit for a while. You've bought a bunch of rentals. I know you own some stuff in the Panhandle and other places. And most recently, you put yourself into kind of the hard money lending space, at least from our last conversations. Talk about the evolution of the business ventures you've tried over the years, and what have you learned from that, and where's your focus today?
So I think as you start, the easiest thing is you have time and you have energy, right? So the obvious thing is for you to be the operator, right? And so that's what I did, right? I started in wholesaling. I did that for a few years. Then I kind of sprinkled in some fix and flips. Then I went really heavy on the fix and flip side and basically stopped wholesaling altogether. And basically, I've started. I was involved in an insurance agency that went horribly wrong. I was involved in a property management company. And then I remember I took all my rental properties over myself, started a property management company. And like 6 months later, I went back with my tail between my legs to my property manager, said, can you take them back, please, and act like this never happened? And they kind of laughed. I'm sure they felt like really, really good at that moment. So, but I think as I've evolved, as I've just gotten older, as I've tried to work smarter, it's like, who can I find that I can identify those operators that have the energy and they just need help on kind of consulting? Maybe they need some capital. So I've kind of transitioned into almost like private money lending, where I've like today, I literally just came from a closing where I've got my partner who's going to bring the hard money. I'm bringing like the 60, 70K to do the renovation and the holding costs. And then the guy that's going to be out there actually being boots on the ground to manage the contractors, do some of the work himself. And then we're going to split the profits, right? So for me, and it's his first deal. So it's like, how can I help bring him through, get his name on the deal? Because as you know, when you're assigning a contract, that doesn't help you in terms of getting loans from banks and things like that, because banks don't recognize that as like owning a property. And so I said, look, I want you to get your name on this deal so that someone can see you actually successfully flip the house. I'll bring the capital and kind of the know-how. You do the work. And so I've just found myself trying to identify operators like that I can help. But I'm not the one that has to go, send out the 10,000 text messages to get that deal. I'm not the one that has to be like meeting at the house on a Saturday morning to tell them, what to paint and where. And the older I get, the more I just want to do that stuff. So it's like, there's plenty of people just like me that have kind of like, we've already cut our teeth, and I don't want to go search for deals and talk to like 26 sellers on the phone and, be the therapist and have them sit on my couch for an hour and a half while I listen to, when their husband passed away 19 years ago and how tough it's been because their kids don't ever come see them. I'm fine with those conversations, but it is a little bit mentally draining, and it's not something I'm interested in doing right now. So that's kind of my evolution is going from kind of the high operator to like, how can I be smarter about it? How can I use my knowledge and my expertise and use all the mistakes I've made over the years, put in some capital, and then help work with real estate people to they go find the deal. I underwrite it. This was like, it took us 2 or 3 deals with this one guy before we actually did it. The first 2 he thought were good. And then after we looked at it, like, this is not a deal that I'm participating in, and you shouldn't do it either. So that's kind of just the evolution of going from being active into a little bit more passive, albeit it's still an active industry. But I just want to work smarter, my friend. I want to spend more time, traveling.
High leverage.
Yeah, that's it. Leverage other people's talents, man. That's what it is.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so that's an interesting model. So it's like not exactly hard money lending, but almost like partnering up and levering their time with your capital, getting the same result in the end, but you're not spending as much time doing all the kind of the dirty work, the hands-on work.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay out of the dirty work, my friend. I'm trying to keep my hands clean, and yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing. And then I'm in the process right now also of starting where I will be the operator for a while, is a home service business. Looking around, real estate's tough right now. It's not easy. And I'm like, how can I de-risk myself? How can I find something that AI is not going to take the job in the next 2 years? How can I find something where there's a fragmented industry where maybe the marketing side of the industry is not very good? And so I started kind of digging into the home services side, looking at the geography of where the potential could be. And I've kind of nailed down, and I've connected with a few operators where I'm going to handle the front end. So I'm going to optimize their systems and operations, their scheduling, their coordination, their payments. And then I'm going to be driving lead flow to them. And then they run the business of actually the installation, the ordering of parts, things like that. So again, it comes back to who, not how.
Yeah, okay. So that's fascinating. Yeah, the real estate, I've got some opinions on the real estate industry. Tons of headwinds. We're in a really unique time where it's not exactly tanking. Now, if you're in Florida, we're the worst state in the country when it comes to real estate right now. Just data wise, we 2 and 3x in terms of home values here over the last 5 years. And although we haven't pulled back in pricing to like pre-COVID pricing, we pulled back in a meaningful way compared to the other states. And it's mostly because we grew so much, right? We had the highest growth and we're having the biggest pullback. So it feels like it hurts a little more here. The problem is like the economy's not actually tanking. It just kind of sucks. We're just like in this middle zone where the data's all weird and it's kind of flat. We're just kind of flat. And, which is, a lot of headwinds. We talk about this a lot, like Bill and I and people in my world, like how you win, regardless if it's real estate or anything else, is you find an inefficiency in the marketplace and you fill that gap, right? So I'll give you an example. Obviously, we were primarily wholesaling in blackjack for a decade plus, and we had done flips for a while, and then we were wholesaling a lot more. And what happened over the last 18 months was it just really started to dry up. The cost to acquire a deal went from $3,000 to $5,000 to $7,000 and $10,000 in some places. And people might say, okay, well, it costs $10,000 to get a deal. Yeah. But your average gross profit on a wholesale deal is like $20,000 to $22,000 if you're good, right? So there's just not enough margin. So last year we had to look at okay, we need to find the inefficiency in the real estate space specifically, which led us down to do some more creative finance deals. We're super, super efficient right now, literally 50% net margin in our company. The second lever that we pulled specific to Florida is we looked at, well, people still want to be in Florida. People still want to be in California. People still want to be in New York, right? Always. That will always happen.
Right.
But they fluctuate. People leave, then they come back, right? The reason people want to be here is the things that we have that you can't replicate anywhere else. The ocean and warm weather. Okay. So the market itself will be fine over time. The housing prices are unaffordable. The median price is $400,000. So we looked at what's selling in the state of Florida. Well, those $1 million plus houses that are selling to people who have money, they still go just fine. And mobile homes, if you think about mobile homes, really specific to Central Florida, the snowbirds will buy them, people will buy them. So we're flipping mobile homes in Central Florida now because there's an inefficiency in the marketplace. The inefficiency is affordability. People still want to come here. Those houses sell fast and you can create good margin. So, like a mobile home on a half-acre plot here in Central Florida, it'll sell for $230 to $299. And then the rehabs are efficient because you can't really spend more than 50 or 60 grand max on a mobile home.
You're rebuilding that. I mean, that for 50 grand, that mobile home is going to have nothing that hasn't been touched, right? So I like that though, because one thing, so you have the statistical side of like saying, hey, what do people want, right? It comes back to Econ 101, supply and demand, right? So if there's a demand for that product, check, right? But then I also know that, let's talk about a thing too, which the competition, right? There's going to be less competition for that product in terms of the cash buyer, the wholesaler, whatever that looks like. And to me, when I look at being able to try and pivot, it's to what you guys have done, right? Who Moved My Cheese, right? One of my favorite books is Who Moved My Cheese, right? Is being able to identify, okay, where is there a demand in the market? And then where is there an inefficiency in the competition that then you can come in and bring your very systematized approach to thing. And there's a demand for it. Voila, you've got a perfect marriage. So that's what I heard that you just said. And I absolutely love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you see this too. And here's another thing where I love what you're doing. The best business owners I know, I don't care. I know people with 9-figure businesses. I know people with 8-figure business, 7-figure businesses, but the best business people I know built their businesses in real estate. Real estate, by and large, is hard as a business. If you just think about all the different businesses you could do, it's capital intensive. There's a lot of unknown unknowns, especially when you're rehabbing and doing construction. And the amount of systems that you have to put in place to be efficient and scale is a challenge. It's not like super simple. So when I watch guys come up in this space and actually systematize it, build a business, hire a team around it, and get some level of scale, those people, when I watch them go into other niches, oftentimes I see them be very successful. Now, if we just look at the landscape right now, we've got business buying has become this like craze. It's the craze right now. It's like buy a cash flowing business is the fastest way to get money. And I watch these people go, oh yeah, they have zero business skills, no previous experience. They go, I'm going to go buy a small business and I'm going to hire an operator and it's going to be a cash flow thing and I'm chilling. It's like, that is not going to work that way. But you're going into that space. And because of that, you already have this business acumen. You've done all the hard work. You built businesses in spite of the challenges in the real estate space that we've just talked about. So your ability to go in and put the right people in place, put the right systems in place. And also we tend to be good marketers and salespeople in real estate. So you know how to generate leads and build a system around conversions.
Yeah. And also too is being able to find things that run complementary, right? Like I'm in real estate. So I've got a huge database of, realtors and fix and flip guys and wholesale guys and inspectors and appraisers, right? Well, home services kind of ties right into that. So that's an easy way for me to click a button and be like, hey, everyone, I've got a home service company. I know you need this because I've needed it a million times. And it's nice too for me to look at like my own rental properties, right? So if a property manager calls me and says, hey, the AC's out or the toilet's backed up, I'm not like, hey, Mr. Property Manager, yeah, the toilet's backed up. Okay, that's not disgusting or anything. Oh, the shower's backing up. Let's get 3 estimates. Let's think about it for a while, and then we'll get that toilet fixed a week from now, right? The tenant's going to be so pissed off, and I'm going to have all the bad reviews. My answer to the property manager is how fast? And he says, they can be out there today and it's going to be $450. Well, who am I to say no? I have no option, right? I'm sent into a prize fight with both hands tied behind my back. I'm like, I do it, and I'll deal with the $450 later, and just know that that was a crappy month for cash flow, and then you move on. And so I took that experience, and I'm like, that's interesting. I like that approach to it, and where you're kind of boxed in. How can I be on the other side, collecting that $450 where we're just out there and we're just providing convenience because we're getting there fast, and it may only cost $20 in parts, and you just got paid $450 for 45 minutes of work.
I love it. If you need a service business, this is why we dominate. Like, okay, in real estate, when we generate leads, we take care of those leads. I mean, we're like, we talk about speed to lead. We get a PPC lead that comes in. We are like industry wide. It's like 60 seconds. You need to be on the phone with that person, right? So we're just kind of like trained to that. So I go to this flip that I turned into an Airbnb in Fairhope, Alabama. And, we're getting it all ready. My wife and I, she goes, this is the first time I've ever seen this property. I owned it for over a year. And she goes, she's like outside and there's the water spigot outside. And she's like just touching everything, making sure things are tight. And she turns that water spigot and it breaks off and it's just shooting water up. By the way, I have zero man skills. It's embarrassing. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I Google it. It's like, shut off the water main. I'm like, cool. Where's the water main? Text the guy. They're like, oh, you should go like look out in the front. So I find the water main. I shut it off. This is like over like 30 minutes where water is just spewing and shooting everywhere. So I go to Google and I go, I need a plumber because I don't really know what to do. I don't have the skill. I go to Google, pulls up 3 plumbers, on the Google My Business type thing. Yep. Call the first one. They don't answer. Call the second one. They don't answer. Call the third one. They answer. That's who I pick. They come out. They do the thing. The second one calls me back an hour later. I'm like, nope, sorry, I already got service. And that's where you look at that space of service industry and go, oh my gosh, I would dominate that industry. Why? Because we would have a inside sales team making sure that phone's answered. We'd be scheduling jobs. We'd be doing quotes. Like we would just be so much more efficient based on our experiences in real estate. And when you need a plumber, like I did, I don't care. And that's the other thing, Clark, you mentioned this earlier, like every homeowner calls you and says they want $1 million for their house and you're buying it for $150K. It's the same thing with a plumber where it's like the thing that's most important to somebody calling the service industry in most of those situations is speed. How fast can you come fix my pain? Which we know all too well in the real estate space talking to sellers.
Yeah, it's a very transferable need. And so being able to identify that. And so, but that's not to say that like for me, like I'll always be a real estate guy, right? I'll always be a deal junkie. So I don't care if I'm running a home services business. I'm still going to have my eye on whatever the next deal is on my inbox to see what comes in because I still love buying and holding real estate. And that's something that it doesn't matter what you pay for it. You pay a lot for it. You pay a little for it. Over time, it self-corrects. I've bought bad deals that now are great deals. Why? Because I've just held them for 10 years, right? Like the industry is just self-corrected, and eventually those dumpy houses are getting fixed up around you, and now it's more of a desirable place to live. Now the rents go up. So I'll always be in the real estate side. I'd love to be able to get in the multifamily side, but unfortunately, it's just so difficult right now that I'm like, well, I'm going to go focus on something that I can make some cash, build something that's smart, that I can lean on other trades to be able to, lean on their expertise. I can bring some value through marketing and through systems and operations. And I can do all of that from the computer I'm talking to you on right now.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, dude, this has been quite the pleasure for me to have an opportunity just to have you on here for the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast. I know you also host an amazing podcast, Burn the Boats. If you're listening, you haven't checked out the Burn the Boats podcast with Clark and his partner, you definitely need to check that out. They do a great job. It's one of my favorites in my morning drive. So I appreciate you guys for putting out all that good info. If people wanted to connect with you, maybe it's a young hustler who wants to see how you can mentor them and let them do the work, or service businesses. How can people get connected with you? What's the biggest thing you're looking to connect with people on?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Adam. And you know what, man, say something is that I have the utmost respect for you being able to do your military job and then you do more as the side hustle because you had your military job. So guys like you, guys like James Lescara, like I have so much respect for you guys because people are like, well, how do I do that? Like you work your ass off, right? Like we've interviewed so many people. You alluded to our podcast. It's called Burn Your Boats Wealth. You can find us on Instagram or you can find us on Facebook or wherever, Spotify, all that stuff. So if you want to reach out to me, just go to our social media at Burn Your Boats Wealth on Facebook or Instagram. That's probably where we're most active. And I'd love to just say, hey, how can we work together? Or how can I help you in any way? We love trying to just help people, especially early on, like to be able to help them with like one or two challenges. Maybe we help you. Maybe it doesn't work out. Either way, we're certainly more than willing to give you a little bit of our time. But to be able to see you accomplish in your side time what most people can't do in their full-time job, it's like there's a common thread. And this is what I was alluding to, is that being able to interview all the most successful people that we have and being able to talk to guys like yourself, there's one common thread, is that there's no cheat code. There's no like shortcut. You work your ass off, right? What does that mean? Well, that means some weekends. That means a Saturday night. That means like an early Tuesday morning. That means like, on your lunch break at your W-2 job, you're answering a seller phone call or you text them saying, I'll call you in 15 minutes, right? There's not one person, and we've talked to $100 million guys, not one person has been like, I went on YouTube, I found this like thing and that no one knew about. And it just like, accelerated my business and my net worth by $50 million. Like it doesn't exist. What does exist is delaying your gratification and working your ass off. And anything else is just fluff and BS. And so that's bad news if you're just trying to like,
you got to do the work.
Yeah, you got to do the work, man. So I tip my cap to you for what you've been able to accomplish, juggling so many different things, family, kids, all that stuff. So I am humbled to be here, man. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, dude, totally appreciate that, man. I love talking to people on this podcast, especially you, when you just know you have all this experience and you're saying these words and people are listening, but man, there's a difference between listening and understanding. It's like, dude, it really does take work. You're not wrong. And it's like, I get that question too. It's like, how do you do everything? I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, I want to do it. And I know that if I work hard, I do it long enough, eventually I will get it figured out. And, for most of us, just kind of to close the loop, in the beginning, you said, somebody asked me if I started all over and I had 10 grand, where would I spend it? And you're like, I would invest it in my education, either mentorship or something, whatever it is. And when I see people do that, that's like part one, investing in your education. But part two is putting in the work over a long enough period of time to get the result you started on. So many people do the first part, they invest in their education. They do the second part, which is getting started, and I commend them for that. But they forget the third part, which is hard work over a long period of time.
I heard Hormozy say this, and he was like, the first 3 or 4 months of business is like easy because it's like uninformed ignorance. You're just excited, right? It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. You're just excited that you're not like having a boss tell you what to do. But then you hit the real challenges, right? And it's being able to push through that and be like, ooh, this is actually tougher than I thought it was going to be. Ooh, I'm free, right? I don't have a boss yelling at me, but I actually have to work longer and I haven't got a paycheck yet. And I probably don't see one for another 6 months. And it's fighting through that initial thing that I think a lot of people can't get through to get their first deal or whatever that looks like. And they just give up.
And they're like, look at Clark. He's so successful. It's like, yeah, he's been doing it for over a decade though.
Yeah, I bought my first house in 2006. I've just been living. Unfortunately, in some of these rooms where there's a lot of 20-year-olds, I'm like, man, you're going to be successful. I've just been on this planet longer than you. That's my only advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it, man. Well, dude, thanks so much. And if you're listening to this, go check out the Burn the Boats Wealth podcast. Clark and David do a great job on there. It's one of the best podcasts. Appreciate you guys listening. I'll see you on the next one.
See you guys. Thanks for listening.